Well, hey there, guys. Greetings, salutations, and welcome to the new installment of Open Mic, the show where the mic is open, the floor is yours. What do you guys want to talk about? That is what we're here to discuss. My name, of course, is John Campea. Good to have you guys here. This show, of course, is really just a more laid back, relaxed version of the John Campea Show. We're going to sit here and chat, have a casual conversation about stuff. Want to say hello to everybody who's already joining us here. Rafe, Bungo, Lewis, Tom, everybody else who's here. Good to have you guys here already as we rev up here to talk about a whole bunch of things. Listen, I want to remind you that from now on, Open Mic is strictly going to be, we used to take questions from both the tip link and Super Chats on Open Mic, but now we're just taking it via Super Chat. So if you've got a comment, thought, question, opinion, something you want to share and you want me to address, as long as it's appropriate for me to share and address on the show, go ahead and use the Super Chat feature and send that all in. All right, guys. That all down, let's kick things off with this. I wanted to start off with this. You guys, for those of you who watched the John Campea Show a little bit earlier today, you saw that the Vision show, which has been kind of, depending on who you've listened to, has been on again, off again, on again, off again, right? Like they announced there was going to be a Vision show. Then it kind of looked like there wasn't going to be one for a long time. Then about a month ago, we talked on the show about it looked like Production Weekly had reported that a start production date for a Vision show. So that started to get the rumors going around again that maybe it was coming back. And then today, officially, they announced that a Vision show is coming in 2026 with Paul Bettany returning to play Vision, and it's going to be run by Picard Season 3 showrunner Terry Matalas. So that got a bunch of people, especially Rob, really excited about it because Rob loves Terry Matalas and loves Star Trek Picard Season 3. So that's a go on. But it got me wondering, and to be fair, Cody, one of our YouTube channel members, wrote to me earlier and said, you know, John, with Vision coming and a Vision show, when we know Bob Iger's going to cut back on the amount of Disney Plus shows, but we are still indeed going to get Disney Plus shows. Who could we see? Who else could we see getting what other MCU, X-Men, whatever character could we see getting their own standalone Disney Plus show? And I thought that was a very interesting question. It's a good question. So I want to actually throw it open to you guys and take your suggestions. Now, before you start throwing in suggestions about who it is you could see Disney Plus doing a show based on, I want to set a couple of what I believe to be parameters. Number one, it can't be a character that clearly is going to be a fairly big or huge movie character, right? They've already seemed to be moving away from that. Yeah, they did Wanda, but since they did Wanda, they've used it to introduce characters like, say, Ms. Marvel or Moon Knight. They've used it for, secondary characters like Loki, Loki's a big MCU character, don't get me wrong, but Loki has always been the second fiddle character. They decided, especially after they killed him off for the 14th time, to give him his own show. Falcon and Winter Soldier, both secondary characters, all that kind of stuff. So it would have to be a character that isn't going to be a prominent or major, I think, movie character, because I don't think they're going to do that a lot. Especially think they learned that after doing their little experiment with the Marvels. And other than that, it can be anybody. I mean, we're talking about, also somebody that there's just no chance they would bother. Because remember, they are cutting back on the amount of Disney Plus shows. It's not like they're going to do 5 Disney Plus shows a year now, so you can just throw out any name you want. So let's put it over to you guys. All right. What characters, I'm going to go to the chat board for this. What characters can you see Disney Plus and Marvel doing their own standalone shows? Okay, we got David Coca with the first suggestion. I like this one. Valkyrie. And I'll tell you why Valkyrie's an interesting name. Because Valkyrie is a firmly established MCU character, never been a primary character, but there's a lot of very interesting stuff surrounding her, right? She is the King of Asgard, as of right now, that we know of. She's been involved in a number of different things. She was, of course, at the battle in Endgame and all that kind of stuff later. You know what? Valkyrie, and she brings some movie cred with her to the big screen or to the small screen in Disney Plus. Valkyrie. I could totally see that. All right, Valkyrie, good starting. You know what? I'm going to start keeping a list here. I'm going to keep a list. And what am I starting here with? I'm going to create a list that simply says, where's my Campea classroom? There it is. I'm going to start a list that simply says, what we just said. So characters, Disney Plus characters. All right. So one of them was, hold on a second. Valkyrie. Okay. So Valkyrie's one. Now I'm seeing a couple of people throwing the idea of Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider, I'm going to say no. I don't think they're going to do Ghost Rider. And I've got a couple of reasons why. But I just got to get my autofocus here, double checked here. There we go. I think there's a couple of reasons why the answer to Ghost Rider would be no. Number one, Ghost Rider hasn't worked so far, right? They've done a couple of iterations of Ghost Rider, hasn't worked. Number two, I think to do Ghost Rider right, might be a little bit of a prohibitively expensive Disney Plus show. Number three, I think a lot of people who would be looking for a Ghost Rider would want Ghost Rider to be rated R. I don't think they're going to do that on Disney Plus. So I'm going to say I don't think they would do Ghost Rider. So I'm going to say no on Ghost Rider. That's just my guess. Who knows? Tom Weisborough saying Aunt May. Now don't laugh. Aunt May is the kind of character you could do a Disney Plus show on. Obviously, though, completely out of the running for us here because Aunt May dies. Now, John, you might be saying, John, this is the Marvel fake death universe. True, but I don't think they're going to bring back Aunt May. So Aunt May, I think, is out of the running. Kareem might be trying to be funny here, but a Luis show, I would totally be down for that. We've talked about this before, right? A Marvel Cinematic Universe show from the point of view of a normie living in a world of these titans. And I think somebody like a Luis with a Michael Pena, are you kidding me? I think that would be awesome. Now, of course, the problem is you would also have to surround him with other MCU characters, and I think that becomes a problem. But don't laugh. I would totally be down for a Luis show. I totally would. Let's see. Isaac Martinez is saying Winston Duke's character from Black Panther, he's awesome and funny. Yes, he is one of the best characters. Honestly, he's one of my favorite characters in the MCU. M'Baku is seriously, straight up, not just one of my favorite characters in Black Panther. M'Baku is one of my favorite characters in the MCU. M'Baku is awesome. Absolutely awesome. But they're already doing several Wakanda projects, and they've got, Black Panther movies. And of course, M'Baku is now the king of Wakanda. So I can't see them doing M'Baku. I would totally be down for an M'Baku show. Totally would be. But I just can't see them. I can't see them doing it when you take consideration. He is the king of Wakanda. They've got other Wakanda projects. So I just don't know that they'd be doing it. Armando Para writes, an Iceman show. And I'll tell you why this could work. I'll tell you why Iceman could work. I'm going to put it on my list. Iceman. Now, some of you might be saying, but John, isn't he a part of the original X-Men team? Yes, but we don't know that he will be in the new Marvel Cinematic Universe. Right? Bobby is an original X-Men member. In the comic books, the original X-Men are Scott, Jean, Hank, or Beast. Okay, so Beast, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Angel, and Iceman. So Iceman is one of the original five. But just because he was an original five member in the comics and he was in the 1999 X-Men movie doesn't necessarily mean he will be here. So I will say that if Bobby is not a member of their first X-Men lineup, if Bobby's not a member of the first X-Men lineup, I could totally see them doing a show about him. I really can. So I like that one with the caveat that as long as he's not in the first X-Men movie. All right. We go to Alton Wang, who's saying Nick Fury. Well, they've already done that, haven't they? And that didn't work out so well. Oba is saying Wong. All right. I'm going to say no on Wong. The reason I'm going to say no on Wong is because he's too intricately connected through all the movies now. Like, right, even Kevin Feige said it's basically the Marvel, the MCU, the Wong cinematic universe now, is what Kevin Feige called it, right? So, I mean, with him being such an integral part of the whole television, doing a dedicated show about him. Now, him doing a show with, what's the name of the character from She-Hulk? Madison? Is Madison the name of the character from She-Hulk? That character annoyed me so much at first, and then for whatever reason, I couldn't get enough of her, even though I didn't like the She-Hulk show. A Madison and Wong show, that could be, but honestly, he's just too connected now in with the overall cinematic universe. He's tying into everything, so I'm going to guess no. Somebody else already said Wong. Somebody said Ned. I like Ned. Sign me up. Sign me up. Jacob Bartolone as Ned from the Spider-Man universe. Because he keeps popping up in Spider-Man, sure, as a secondary character, but an actual show. But here's the thing, though. This is the question I got to ask. Can you do a Ned show with a Ned who doesn't know Peter is Spider-Man? Right? Can you do a Ned show where Ned doesn't know Peter is Spider-Man? I keep noticing my camera, you know what? My camera is being really stupid. It keeps focusing on my microphone instead of on me. And I apologize about that. I'll try to get that fixed during one of the breaks. At any rate, I don't know. I think Ned partially just is an interesting character because he knows who Peter Parker is, he's Spider-Man. And you could do a show about him without Spider-Man that is part about him carrying the burden of knowing who Spider-Man is. But otherwise, it might be a little bit tricky for them to do. But you never know. Maybe. Hulk, no chance. I don't see them doing Hulk as a TV show. 2 reasons, really expensive. And if you're going to start getting back to the real Hulk, that needs to be a cinematic movie. That needs to be a movie, not a TV show. So I'm going to say no. Sean Quinn, I love it. Zeus. Love it. All the complaints that everybody and I have about Thor, Love and Thunder, one of those complaints was not Russell Crowe, at least to me. With all the other problems I had with Thor, Love and Thunder, one of the problems was not Russell Crowe's Zeus. Russell Crowe's Zeus was awesome. I don't care what anybody else says. Russell Crowe's Zeus is awesome. Absolutely 100% awesome. I would 100% watch a show on Zeus following his recovery from, from the injuries he got in Thor, Love and Thunder. I would 100% watch that. No doubt about it. Jupiter Sky saying Korg. Korg is a very interesting one. Again, the problem becomes that's an expensive show to do because he's all CGI, right? So you do Korg and Meek. That would be interesting. And he fits the definition, right? He's a secondary character. He doesn't play he's not a primary in any of the movies, but he's an entertaining character and all that kind of stuff. But the problem is he's fully CGI. And that would make that, I think, cost prohibitive. So I don't know if they would do that. Let's see. What are some others we've got in here? King Daddy Goat is saying The Collector. We've kind of been there and done that. And I don't know if we want to go back to that again. So I'm going to say no. Plus, it would have to be completely set in space and all that kind of stuff. Sharon Carter, by all way. Well, they've already kind of set it up. I think she's going to have an important role to play in, what's the thing? Iron Wars? Is that what they're calling? I can't remember. Guys in the live chat, help me out with that. Iron Wars? I think she's going to be maybe even the main antagonists, if not the main antagonist, then one of the main antagonists in Armor Wars. I said Iron Wars. I meant Armor Wars. Sorry. In Armor Wars. So yeah, Moda Awesome's got a great one. Negasonic and Yukio. Oh my God. Negasonic and Yukio. Sign me up. Sign me up. I think that's the best idea yet. Negasonic and Yukio, 100% best idea yet. Best idea yet. First of all, I would watch an entire hour and a half of just Yukio being cute and adorable. So just right there by itself, Yukio being cute and adorable. Pardon me, I'd be totally down for that. I'm going to see if I can, for those of you who don't know who we're talking about, I'm going to see if I can bring up a picture of them. So we, for those of you maybe who have not watched it yet, know who we're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, this. Give me this all day. Give me this all day. First of all, Negasonic is hilarious. I've loved Negasonic, Teenage Warhead ever since the first Deadpool movie. Absolutely love her. And hi, Wade. Yukio is the most adorable. I want to eat her up. Like she just oozes cuteness. I love everything about her. She's just her being on screen brings joy to your heart. She's amazing. So you juxtapose those two together. Sign me up. 100%. Give me a Negasonic and Yukio show. Kate Blanchett as Hela. Character's gone, dead, so that makes that difficult. Bradley Krager is saying a Star-Lord prequel. That's a problem for several reasons. Number one, that's a major A-level character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe already. So there's that. You'd have to get Chris Pratt to do it. So that makes it expensive. They're already planning on Star-Lord returning to the MCU. Now, if you're thinking more like a prequel as in like a teenager or younger than that, you know me, I'm not one who's really big on doing prequel kind of stuff. Tommy M is saying Quake, keep all that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. bullshit as far away from the MCU as possible, in my opinion. Let's see. Juggernaut is way too problematic to do. I couldn't see them doing Juggernaut. That's just way, I mean, like, not if you're going to do an even relatively comic accurate Juggernaut. That's just really difficult to do. Not to mention, like, he's supposed to be a villain and all that kind of stuff. So there's that. Howard the Duck, I sure hope not. I mean, I didn't even think Howard the Duck worked as a quick cameo joke in the movies. So there's that. Logan is saying Blade. Scott Logan is saying Blade. Well, I mean, hey, if they're not going to get around to giving us the movie, why not give us a TV show of Blade? X-23. That's an interesting one. The problem is right now we don't have an X-23 in the universe. And are you just continuing on the X-23 from Logan? Like, do you want to go out and get Daphne Keane for that? I'll tell you what, I would be down for it. I don't think they'll do it, just to be clear, but an X-23 with Daphne Keane, that could be interesting. Namor, no, because then it's got to all be surrounded around Atlantis and all that kind of stuff. I don't see them doing that. Plus, I think Namor is going to have a bigger role in upcoming Black Panther and Wakanda stuff. So there's that. Wanda and Quicksilver before the age of, again, I don't want prequel stuff, so I'm going to say no to that. Special presentation. Well, no, they've already made remember we talked about this a while ago. They've already made it clear the special presentation ones, they're not doing those anymore. So like the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, Werewolf by Night, they're not doing those anymore. So unfortunately that won't work. Anyway, as you can see though, guys, there's a bunch of possibilities out there. So it's going to be interesting to see what, if any, kind of direction they decide to take when they go off in this direction. So we'll see where they go. All right, guys, listen, we're going to do the most important part of our show now, the main part of Open Mic, which is going over and start taking your questions. But before we do, we're going to take just a quick moment here and thank a couple of sponsors of our shows here today, our friends at Cuts Clothing and Liquid IV. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Cuts Clothing. Let's be real. Most guys would wear a t-shirt every day of their lives if we could. The problem is that most t-shirts are not acceptable to wear at work or out on a hot date. Today's sponsor, Cuts, has finally changed that. Cuts t-shirts are such high quality, wrinkle-free, and so buttery soft that you can look like you're dressing up even when you're dressing down. Yeah, you heard that right. They are wrinkle-free. And for a limited time, you can save money while redefining the dress code by heading to cutsclothing.com and use the code Campea for 20% off. Guys, you know me, when it comes to clothing, my number one priority is comfort, and I could not believe just how comfortable my Cuts shirt was. It was light, it breathed, it felt like $1,000,000, and it made me feel like I looked like $1,000,000 too. And the best part? Cuts Clothing is built to last. Their durable construction means you'll be enjoying your favorite shirts and pants for years to come, making them a smart investment for your wardrobe. So guys, for a limited time, our listeners get 20% off your entire order when you use the code Campea at checkout. That's 20% off your order at cutsclothing.com with the promo code Campea. Please support our show by telling them that the John Campea Show sent you. Experience the perfect blend of style and comfort with Cuts Clothing. Guys, we want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Liquid IV. You know, it seems like summer's just designed to make us thirsty, whether it's camping, hiking, playing sports, and staying hydrated is the key to making the most of every moment. Because summer requires extraordinary hydration that's built for everyday dehydrating moments. Liquid IV hydrates you with benefits like electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients. With 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, plus 8 vitamins and nutrients in a single stick, it's clearly why Liquid IV is the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. It has 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink. Just tear, pour, and live more. Just 1 stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. With 8 vitamins and nutrients, non-GMO and free from gluten, dairy, and soy. There's no artificial colors or sweeteners, and it's got 4 delicious sugar-free flavors: white peach, green grape, raspberry melon, and lemon lime. So turn your ordinary water into extraordinary hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code Campea at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code Campea at liquidiv.com. And thank you to our friends at Cuts Clothing and Liquid IV for sponsoring today's episode of Open Mic. Now, give me a second. I'm just going to see if I can focus my camera a little bit better here. Hold a second. Oh, that's worse. That's almost there. Almost there. Too much. That's pretty good. That'll do for now. All right, we'll go with that one. Anyway, all right, guys, let's get over to your questions here, shall we? And we're going to start off here with Tom Weinberg, who says, regarding bringing an 8-year-old to Deadpool, I saw a video of parents bringing their kids to see Alien in 1979. One dad justified it by saying, this could be a true story. They need to be prepared. I like that. Yeah, you know, we were talking about that earlier today on the show, that some people forget that, and I'm going to see if I can adjust my camera here a bit. Yeah, some people seem to forget that an R-rated movie in the United States does not mean kids can't go. Kids can go, provided they're accompanied or go with somebody who's 18 years old or older. That's it. Now, that will prevent some groups of 14-year-olds just going together, yes. But a lot of kids go. And then we were talking a little bit on the show this morning about, you know, is it okay for parents to bring, or adults to bring, kids to certain R-rated things? Like, will it be okay? Because I guarantee you, there are going to be parents that bring their kids to see Deadpool. They're going to completely be oblivious to the R rating and say, oh, it's a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. It's Ryan Reynolds. And they're going to bring their kids to see Deadpool and Wolverine. And some might be shocked. And some will be shocked and won't care anyway. They're still going to bring them. So, you know, it is what it is. All right. Next up, we've got City of Swift, who writes, John, You just don't get it. Sometimes when you're in the basement and the light bulb lows and your cousins, we're going from that. Suthius also writes, no spoilers here, but I hope we see more of Proximus. He's awesome. I can't imagine the next two movies skipping ahead hundreds of years again. I'm sure this trilogy will be the Noah and May trilogy. I'm not convinced about that. Now, I do think that the next film will be Noah and probably May. Look, I would love for them to bring Proximus back. Again, no spoilers. I just don't see how you do it. I don't see how you bring Proximus back after the events of this Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movies. But I could totally see them doing the second film and then jumping ahead another 200 years. I'm not saying that's what they will do. And I'm not saying the next one will have Noah in it. I'm just saying what I could theoretically see happen is maybe the next one have Noah and May, and then maybe another jump ahead 100 or 200 years. Again, we'll have to see. Right now, we don't even know when we're going to get another one. So fingers crossed. All right. Thanks, Suthius. Isaac Martinez writes, who's the most controversial director ever? I mean, some people will jump up and say like Uwe Boll or something like that, but that's not really a controversial director. Like everybody knows that's, Uwe Boll's not a very good director. So I don't know. I mean, to me, Tim Burton's a bit of a controversial director just because, a lot of people love him, but a lot of people don't. So is that the definition of it? So you know what? I don't know. I guess it depends on your parameters of who and what, a controversial director is. Is some people who like Zack Snyder would clearly be a controversial director if that's your definition, or is your definition about like controversy surrounds their subject matter, like Lars von Trier or somebody like that, right? Like so again, it depends on your definition and parameters of controversial director. Good question though. Guys in live chat, if you've got a theory, go ahead and fire that in. All right, next up. We go to Rafe from State Farm, who writes, hey, John, in Denmark, we have Sky Showtime, which has all of Paramount and Universal content. So I wonder when Paramount sells out, what will happen to it? That's a good question. So like Sky and Star and stuff like that are a bunch of these international brands that, like, for instance, already carry Disney and Hulu content and like a whole bunch of other stuff. But in the terms of Paramount, I can tell you this. Paramount right now has certain contracts and licenses. If somebody buys Paramount, they are still beholden to the contracts and licenses that Paramount has. For example, let's say, get a couple of remotes here. Let's say we have, let's say I own this house. Okay, let's say this is a house. And I have a contract with this guy that says you get to rent this house for the next 5 years. Okay? And I sign a contract that this guy has a 5-year contract for whatever reason. We're not talking about a normal lease. Just for whatever reason, we sign a contract that this guy gets to rent this house for 5 years. Okay, great. But what happens if I sell this house? Like, let's say after 3 years, I sell the house to this guy. Well, is this person now out of luck? They had a 5-year contract. The answer is no. The 5-year contract stays attached to that house. So even though the house has a new owner, the owner of that new house is going to have to honor the contracts that come along with the house. So and I don't know the nature of Paramount's contracts with Sky or Star or any of the others. But let's say, for example, if Paramount has like a 3-year deal, 3 more years on a deal that they've already signed, a licensing contract, then even if somebody else buys Paramount, they're going to have to honor those Paramount commitments. They're going to have to honor that Paramount contract. So in theory, nothing should change if somebody comes along and buys Paramount. I mean, there's a lot of exceptions, yes, but I'm saying in theory, nothing should change. Good question, Rafe. All right, next up. Murray Reich writes, I know you had a list of all potential cameos in Deadpool 3, but I was thinking about James Boner, aka the fake Quicksilver in WandaVision. Yeah, here's the thing, Murray. A lot of people have brought that one up. I don't think so. Number one, because I don't think you could get him in it. But number two, the joke's been done, right? That was the joke. The Boner joke's been done. Why would you bring him back in just to repeat the joke? At least that's my thinking on it, right? Like, what would be the purpose and function of bringing him back in just to repeat the one-note joke that they already did with him, right? So I don't think they're going to do, Boner or Bonner, as it should be pronounced, Bonner. I don't think they're going to do the Boner joke. I really don't. I think they'll probably leave that one out. But you never know. Anything in a Deadpool movie is possible, Murray. Anything in the Deadpool movie is possible. You know that as well as I do. All right, Tom Weinberg writes, chasing a mouse at 1 a.m. while listening. What fun. Glad to have you here. Where's at 1 a.m.? Well, it's writing in pounds, so I'm guessing it's in Europe somewhere. Thank you for joining us at 1 a.m., man. I appreciate that. That's hardcore commitment. All right, Raymond Verada writes in, Holly Hunter has been cast as the captain and chancellor of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. It's great they got an Oscar-winning actress. Yes. We thought about doing that as a topic on the John Campea Show today, but honestly, we already had 6 topics. We didn't have room for any more. First of all, I love Holly Hunter. I've loved her as an actress almost my whole life. Like, she's absolutely phenomenal. From big, giant movies to small, little films, she is absolutely incredible. And you know what my saying is, right? It's never a mistake to add talent. And oh my God, did this new Star Trek show add new talent? Now, this news will be received by people depending on, I think, what they believe about the, Star Trek television. Me, I think Star Trek television is doing really well. Not awesome, not perfect. I think Discovery was shaky. Picard season 2 was pretty shaky. But I mean, listen, I have liked a lot more of the new Star Trek than I've disliked. Like, I think Picard season 1 was really good. I think it was the most Star Trek thing they've done. It was Picard season 1. Picard season 3 was a big crowd favorite. Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's the highest critically rated Star Trek show, even more highly rated than the original series. I know that's blasphemy. I'm just saying. I'm just the messenger. Don't shoot me. But I think Star Trek Strange New Worlds is insanely good. I love that show. So this Starfleet Academy could be interesting. So for somebody like me who is pro Star Trek shows lately, I think the addition of Holly Hunter is phenomenal. I think if you're somebody more like Rob, who really doesn't like new Star Trek at all, I don't know if the addition of Holly Hunter, and of course, Rob's not here to justify this, but I'm just guessing that to someone like Rob, who just hates the shows already, I don't know if the addition to Holly Hunter is going to change his mind on that. Maybe yes, maybe no, but I really like the casting myself. I think it's great. All right. Next up, we got Matthew Brown, who writes, I think Wolverine should get a Disney Plus show. No chance. Wolverine is the single most important X-Men character and the most popular X-Men character. No chance they give Wolverine a Disney Plus show. They're not going to Disney Plus him. And Ghost Rider, kind of talked to why I don't think Ghost Rider will work. Let's see. Moda Awesome also writes, Paul Walter Hauser's upcoming Fantastic Four character. That's an idea. Of course, for those of you who might have missed that, Paul Walter Hauser, as Moda Awesome is pointing out here, has been cast, well, basically in everything. Everything has, I think there's a law in Hollywood now that says if you're making any new project, Paul Walter Hauser has to be in it. Anyway, so of course you guys know Paul Walter Hauser's been cast in a mystery role in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. So Moda Awesome saying, do a Disney Plus show on that character when we don't even know who it is yet. I love the pick. All right. Next up, Raymond Verada writes, thoughts for an X-Men / Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film? Hate the idea. Personally, I absolutely hate the idea. I think that's terrible. Sorry, Raymond. I think it's terrible. All right. Cookie writes, Hey, John, got my ticket for Deadpool and Wolverine July 25th, IMAX 3D. Nice. With a friend I haven't met since secondary school. Oh, that is awesome. Seriously, like the big movie going moments in my life, I always remember who I was with. I know who I was with. I specifically know who I was with when I went to go see Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring for the first time. I know exactly each person I was with when I went to go see Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, when Star Wars came back, unfortunately, but I remember every single person I was with, because I always say movies are experiential events and shared experiences are the best. And so that's so cool that you're using this as a pretext to get together with an old friend. I think that's awesome, man. I hope you guys have a great time. Let's see. Next up, we've got Mum Ra, the ever living one, writes, let's pretend Horizon 1 and 2 is awards worthy. Oh, you're talking about the Kevin Costner films. Okay. How would that work at the Oscars with them coming out 2 months apart? Has this happened before? If I'm not mistaken, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe like say Matrix 2 and 3, I believe they both came out in the same Oscar season. Like I think they only, like what was it, 5 months apart? 5 or 6 months apart. That anybody in the live chat want to correct me if I'm wrong here, because I could be off on this. But Matrix 2 and Matrix 3 came out 5 or 6 months apart. And I think those 5 or 6 months apart were in the same Oscar season. So theoretically speaking, had both of them been insanely awesome, theoretically they could have both been nominated for Best Picture. I mean, there are rules saying that you individually can't be nominated in the same category for two different movies, right? So let's say, I think there was a year once where George Clooney, he could have gotten nominated in two different movies, but there's a rule. I think you can only be nominated in a category once a year. So you could be nominated for Best Actor in one movie and Best Supporting Actor in another movie. I think that's allowed, but I don't think such rules applies to a movie as a whole or to a movie series. Because Horizons 1 and Horizons 2 would be two different movies, so they could both be nominated for Best Picture. And theoretically speaking, since they are two separate movies, Kevin Costner, in theory, could be nominated for Best Actor for Horizon 1 and Horizon 2. I mean, does Horizon 2 come out before the next? Let's, for argument's sake, say it is. So theoretically speaking, they're two separate movies. They might be a part of the same franchise, but they're two separate movies. So I think for the Oscar debate, I think they would both qualify and everybody in them would both qualify. I would think. All right. Matt Brown is saying, what about Wolverine? Again, zero chance you do a Wolverine Disney Plus show. Wolverine he's going to be in the first X-Men movie. He's going to be the primary thing. He is the most popular X-Men character in the world. There's no way they do a Disney Plus series on Wolverine. Moto Awesome writes, Negasan. Oh yeah, I like that idea so much, Moto Awesome. I already mentioned it. I already talked about it. All right. Let's see. Cookie writes, J. Jonah Jameson TV show. That's not bad. Cause I like the idea of, I've already mentioned this, right? I like the idea of a Marvel show about a normie living in this world of Titans. But who in this world of the normies would have a better perspective than somebody running a news organization like JJ? That's a really neat idea. Whether it is or isn't the J.K. Simmons version of the character, that's a very interesting idea. Yeah, I like that one. I like the idea of a JJ one. That has some really interesting possibilities. Mr. Hank Dunn writes, give me a Seth Green-led Howard the Duck show. I think... and I kid you not, nobody would watch it. And obviously that's hyperbole. You would watch it and you're somebody, but I'm saying in the grand scheme of things, nobody would watch that show. It would not get any viewership at all. I don't think anybody wants to see a Howard the Duck show. So sign me out of that one. This one's been brought up a bunch. Red Guardian. See, Red Guardian kind of fits I mean, the character itself presents some narrative problems, right? Like we all acknowledge that, but not a primary character, yet has at least some really interesting things you could do with. Red Guardian's not a bad one. All right. Let's see here. Dakota Woods, Justin Hammer. I mean, here's your problem. Sam Rockwell, Sam Rockwell wasn't an Academy Award winning actor when they did his Iron Man movie. So I'm going to guess you couldn't get him back. Plus, here's the thing. Like, it would have to be a redemption story because, like, you can't do it from the thing of the bad guy. Like, well, they did one about Loki. Yeah, but Loki was a good guy. So, I mean, so that'd be difficult. But listen, if you could get Sam Rockwell to sign up, and that's a big if, but if you can get Sam Rockwell to sign up and you can write a good redemption story for them, I could be down for that. I think I could be down for that one. All right, we're going to take one more before we hear from another one of our sponsors. Jamie Sunday writes, prequel Magneto series. I'm over prequels and or vibe / Chernobyl tone. The character is so rich. You can even follow the McKellen version. Just retcon X-Men First Class. Well, I mean, theoretically speaking, look, Marvel is moving past the Fox era stuff, right? They're not going to, if they do a Magneto origin story, it won't be from the McKellen one. They're moving past. Rob put it best today, I think, when he was kind of mentioning that what Deadpool is really going to do is not just introduce Deadpool to the MCU, but I think it becomes the laying to rest the Fox X-Men universe. I think Deadpool is going to lay that all to rest. We're getting all new X-Men. So the concept of them doing a prequel series to a Fox X-Men character, I don't think is in the realm of possibility. I don't think they're going to be keeping the Fox X-Men alive when they're really moving past it. So for that reason, I don't think they will. But again, never put anything past Kevin Feige. He's got kind of a wild imagination. All right, listen, guys, we still have some more to get to, but before we do, we're going to take one more second here and thank another sponsor of today's episode, our friends at The Wellness Company. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, The Wellness Company. Okay, so you wake up with a scratchy throat, congestion, runny nose, and cough. You know your body. You know you're getting sick. So your choices are tough it out, get sick and take time off work, or hope the doctor can see you this month, or wait 2 hours at urgent care and sit in a room full of sick people, or open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to the doctor-recommended prescription. Start on the right meds and nip this in the bud now. Your medical emergency kit is not a first aid kit. It comes with doctor-prescribed meds to treat over 39 medical issues. Strong antibiotics for infections of all types, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, bronchitis, and so much more. Plus, a doctor's easy guide so you'll know exactly what to take and when. There's no waiting to see the doctor, no waiting at the pharmacy. It's all in here. Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit. Order yours online in just minutes. Your kit will be rushed right to your door, and you can get 15% off at twc.health/Campea and use promo code Campea when you check out. That's promo code Campea at twc.health/Campea. And thank you to our friends at The Wellness Company for sponsoring today's episode of Open Mic. All right, guys, as I finish pouring my drink here, let's get back on over and take the rest of today's questions, shall we? We're going to pick things up with, where do we leave off? We left off with Jamie Sundays. So we move on to Johnny Quest, who writes, John, huge fan. I know this isn't movies, but any thoughts on WB losing the NBA rights to NBC? My favorite show Inside the NBA is on their hit to Zakoff. First of all, is it now official? Did NBC get the NBA rights? Because I know that's been the speculation. I haven't heard if that became official or not. But let's go on the assumption that it is official. Because I haven't heard whether it is official or not. Inside the NBA, with those four guys, right? Especially Kenny, Charles, Shaq. That is a great lineup. I'm being told it's not official yet. Not official. Okay. So, but if it does happen, here's the thing. the NBA there's going to be a lot of money bid for the NBA rights, but the NBA is not the NFL. I mean, listen, we recently remember when we did that chart, because we were talking about the Oscars. And we looked at the top 50 biggest viewed television broadcasts of the year. And like 46 of them were NFL games. Something like 45, 46 of them were NFL games. I think one or two way down near the bottom of the list were NBA games. The reality is, in any business, you've got to evaluate whether something is worth the amount it's going to cost you to get it. I'll give you an example. There was somebody that I wanted to get when I was running things at AMC and Collider. There was a talent I wanted to get. I think we scored really big when we managed to land Jeremy Johns. I was very proud of that one. Jeremy's great. But, you know, there was another talent I really wanted to get my hands on and bring in and make a part of the team. And they were very good. And we started some low key, and no, Rachel, it wasn't Chris Stuckman. Not that I wouldn't have loved to have Chris Stuckman too. Stuckman is awesome. I'm just saying. So we started having some casual negotiations, right? Like, I expressed that I was really interested in bringing them over to the operation we had. They expressed some interest in it. And so we started to have some light casual conversations. And I really did want this person a lot, but I knew there had to be a cap for how much it would be worth to bring them over. And while I really wanted them, what they were asking for, which is totally fair that they asked for what they asked for. That's totally fair. You ask for whatever it is you feel you're worth. That's important. And so I did not begrudge them at all asking for what they were asking for, but I knew that what they were asking for was above the limit of what I thought the value they brought to the show is. And I thought they would bring great value, but I thought what they were asking for exceeded that value. And so we weren't able to make it happen. I still remain a huge admirer of theirs, but we weren't able to make it happen. Having the NBA is great, and having that inside the NBA on TNT is fabulous. But how much is it worth? Because it's not the NFL. People don't watch it in the numbers that they watch the NFL. You can't just spend whatever billions and billions and billions of dollars to have the rights if it's not going to bring in billions and billions and billions and billions in profits. And the NBA just doesn't. Then you got to ask, where does it fit within our overall strategy and all this kind of stuff? And look, I'm a sports fan. I love watching inside the NBA. But at the same time, if I'm Warner Brothers, I don't know that I'm paying the kind of money that it would take to keep it on the show. I just don't know that you can be profitable that way. So if it's time for that show to end, it'll be unfortunate. It really will be, but it'll be time. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Thanks for that, Johnny. Next up, Moda Awesome writes, I know you're not big on prequels. I'm kind of with you, but I'd love to see a Yondu prequel. I wouldn't. On when he had to kidnap kids for ego and see the guilt, depth of his character and his attachment to young Peter. But we know the story. This is the thing. We know it. We know what happens with him. We know what happens with young Peter. We know what happens with Yondu. And here's the thing. I got as much of a prequel look at Yondu as I need from the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which, by the way, I'm not kidding. Guardians of the Galaxy the Holiday Special is now my all-time favorite Christmas special. It's literally replaced Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. as my all-time favorite Christmas special. And I'm not even joking. It is my favorite Christmas special ever. But anyway, like the animated Yondu stuff in there, that's as much prequel as I need. So yeah, I'm just going to have to say, for me personally, doesn't mean other people won't agree with you on this, Moto Awesome, but for me personally, I would take a pass on it, but that's just me. All right. Christopher Brickner writes, it could just be me, but I don't really see many people defend The Last Jedi anymore. Why do you that is? Why do you think that is? Is it because Rise undercuts The Last Jedi a lot? Well, I just don't think you see a lot of people talking about The Last Jedi. Like, if you want to bring up The Last Jedi to me, there are elements of The Last Jedi that I will defend, but I don't feel the need to go around and talk about The Last Jedi a lot. The Last Jedi just doesn't come up at all. I can't remember the last time I got a question sent into the show about The Last Jedi for somebody to either attack or defend it. Now, The Last Jedi to me is the very middle of the thing, right? Like, I love The Force Awakens. I absolutely despise the Rise of Skywalker. And then right in the middle, you had The Last Jedi. There are things about it that I really liked. There are things about The Last Jedi I really like. And there are things about The Last Jedi that I really loathe, that I really hate. So it's right in the middle there for me. But so I'll personally defend elements of The Last Jedi. But again, I think the reason you don't hear a lot of people defending The Last Jedi is because there's no conversations about The Last Jedi, right? There's like, what's there to talk about? I just don't really see, there's not really a need to bring it up or talk about it. Anyway, Dwayne Fernandez writes, hey, John, is there a reason the production budget of a movie is posted, but not the marketing costs? Wish that was online as much as the production costs. That's a very good question. Like, there are reasons why, like, a lot of people, the line budgets get out there and it's just too easy for outlets, like real legit outlets, to get their hands on it, and they'll announce what budgets are and stuff like that. But distribution is a different thing. And really, there's no need. Let's be honest. Let's just call it what it is. There is no reason you and I should know what the marketing budget of a movie is. There just isn't. Would I like to know? Yeah. Am I curious? Yeah. But let's be real. There's absolutely no need or reason for you and I to know what a marketing budget is. Just none. Other than just pure curiosity. Pure curiosity. When it comes to production budgets, that's a little bit different. There, especially with publicly traded companies and all that kind of stuff. But marketing budget, and by the way, you can find more marketing budget information than you think. I usually have to make a couple of phone calls to find out what a marketing budget was on something, but the reality is there is no reason any distributor should feel any obligation to share what their marketing budget is. So I guess that's part of the thing to it. All right. Next up, we got, thanks for that, Dwayne. Mr. I writes, John, breaking news. James Gunn has cast Wonder Woman's Paul Walter Hauser. At this point, I would honestly not be surprised. I would simply not be surprised to find out if there was actual truth to that. All right. Let's see. CJ writes, with Deadpool being R-rated film, do you think it will actually change anything in the MCU? Being R will have nothing to do about whether or not Deadpool changes anything into the MCU. Look, we can already tell you one major change. It's bringing Deadpool into the MCU. That's already a big, major, significant change. And you know what? I don't think Deadpool's the only one coming over. Now, I don't know that they're bringing over any other Fox X-Men characters, but they could introduce other things. Listen, there's a lot of this movie that we haven't seen. I was at CinemaCon and they showed us 7 minutes of it. And that's pretty much the only 7 minutes of stuff we've seen. There is so much in this movie that they're not showing us. I wouldn't doubt it at all if there's like brand new characters that are going to be in there. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm just saying I won't be surprised if there are a ton of brand new characters and all this kind of stuff. But at any rate, whether Deadpool was rated G or X, I don't think it makes any difference as to whether or not Deadpool is going to make changes to the MCU. Again, like I said, there's already one major significant thing changing about the MCU. It's getting Deadpool. And this is the movie that's going to bring him into the MCU. And what other changes it makes to the MCU? Don't know. And by the way, just because a movie that makes changes to the MCU is rated R doesn't mean the changes they make to the MCU makes the MCU rated R, or those changes have to be R-rated stuff, right? So again, how much Deadpool will change, I'm not sure, but I don't think its R rating is going to have any bearing on it whatsoever. At least that's my guess, CJ. We'll see how that all works out. All right. Next up, Tom Weinborough writes again, 2 a.m. in Belgium now, went to a cult movie screening of Twilight yesterday. Oh, nice. Which was so much fun. Everyone laughing and yelling and shouting lines. Listen, you know what? Let me get serious. Let's get real here for a second, shall we, guys? In as much as everybody laughs and mocks and makes fun of Twilight and all that it was, and I've done my share of it, admittedly, here's the reality. It was a smash hit. Laugh all we want, mock all we want, make fun of all we want. Twilight is a smash hit and started several A-list. Thank you, Stavros. I'm just saying it too. That series started several major careers. Anna Kendrick came from Twilight. Robert Pattinson came from Twilight. I mean, you know, the big three. It started major careers. It was a huge, all of them as a franchise, huge, massive hit. It was a pop cultural phenomena. And listen, it was a lot more successful than a lot of my favorite movies. Not all of them. So you know what? And you know what? I'll say this too. You guys know I think this about Twilight. In as much I may not have, and by the way, I straight up liked, no caveats, no asterisks. I liked the final Twilight movie. I can't remember what it was called. Twilight Moon of the Wolf Hump. I don't know. I can't remember what the name of the movie was. But the final Twilight movie, I straight up liked. Didn't love it, but in a thumbs up or a thumbs down world, the final Twilight movie to me was I actually liked it. Didn't love it. But even the first one, while I didn't like the first movie or overall, I didn't hate any of them, but I didn't like any of them either until the last one. But even though I didn't like the first one, there are things they did in Twilight that I thought were very interesting. First of all, I like the idea that they played around with vampire mythology, right? This idea that vampires were in a way kind of like mutants. Yes, all vampires had the same core powers, heightened, senses, heightened speed, heightened strength, immortality. Yes, they all had that, but each vampire also had their own unique power and gifts. I kind of liked that. I mean, it was very different from normal vampire lore, but just the fact that they tried something a little bit different in the story, I like that. Also, whereas somebody else just said they didn't like it, where did it go? The sparkly King Daddy Go saying the sparkle thing was silly though. You know what? I didn't mind them doing that. The idea that instead of going into sunlight makes them burn, and which is part of standard vampire lore, I didn't mind the fact that they tried to play with that a little bit and saying instead of sunlight like burning them, it reveals them. A vampire going out into sunlight reveals them to the world around them. And now the mechanism of it, their skin sparkles or something else happens, whatever. But that concept, that idea of just playing around with the lore, I thought was interesting. I thought it was interesting. Sparkly as though it may be, I thought it was interesting. So you go to that late night screening of Twilight. I bet it was kind of fun. I bet a lot of people had a good time with it. All right. Next up, Mr. I writes, $20 super chat. Thank you, Mr. I, for supporting us on that level, man. Appreciate that, dude. Mr. I writes, hey, John, I know you're a musician as well. Any go-to equipment brand you prefer? I myself, for playing bass in a metal band, I use ESP 6-string basses. Nice. I have a hard time playing 4-string basses. Hartkey amps and cabs and Line 6 Helix amp modelers for effects. Well, I mean, listen, I'm mostly an acoustic. I play acoustic guitar. Like, I've played a little bit of electric guitar, yeah, but I mostly play acoustic guitar and stuff like that. And I've used several different brands, so there's not a lot of loyalty there. When it comes to my keyboards, like, I've owned, Roland Korgs, but I mean, I really do like straight up Yamaha keyboards. My current 2 keyboards I have, neither are Yamaha, oddly enough. So I'm going to have to go back and get those at some point. So yeah, that's me. And yeah, not a lot of people still know that I am a musician. That's using the term very liberally. I like to play music. There's a difference from somebody who fixes their own pipes and a true legitimate plumber. I would not call myself a musician. I'm somebody who likes to play music. I like to play music. I played in several bands when I was younger. I actually had dreams at one point of becoming like a, full-time rock star. And then I realized I simply wasn't good enough to do it. But I still, to this day, I pick up my guitar every day. I don't turn on my keyboard as often as I would like. Maybe once or twice a month, I'll sit down at the keyboard and play, but I pick up my guitar at least once a day, almost every day. And I still like doing stuff like that. Anyway, thanks for asking, man. Appreciate that, Mr. I. Okay. Next up, Kevin Rivera just sends in a super chat badge to be supportive. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And now we just got a couple left here. I'm just going to turn off the super chats as we just answer the last couple of ones here. And we go from there over to, who was that? That was Kevin that did that, right? Yes, that was Kevin. All right. So McGrubby writes, 6-episode Cap miniseries about bringing the Stones back. No, just no. No. People have been saying that ever since Endgame. Why? What's the point? Like, honestly, what's the point? We know every single one of the Stones gets back. We know he's going to face a dilemma. Do I go back to my world, or do I stay here and have my lifelong dream romance with my girl? We already know everything. Then we know he outlives her. He knows he brings the shield back, and we know how it all ends up. Like there's literally no mystery. There's nothing there. Like, at least with something like not Andor, but Rebel. Why am I freezing? Rogue One. I almost called it Rebel One. At least in Rogue One, there's a ton of that. Like, there are characters we never met. Like, things that had to happen that we had no idea. All we know is that there are plans that get to Princess Leia. We know nothing about what the plans were. Where did the plans come from? What exactly was the nature of those plans? There's so many things along the way that we had no idea. All we know is that at the end of it, Princess Leia gets plans. That's all we knew. With a Captain America returning stones, we literally know how every episode is. Episode 1, return the blue stone. Episode 2, return the red stone. Episode 3, return the yellow stone. Episode 4, return, and we know at each one what happens, and then we know what happens at the end of the series. So that's why for me, I have zero interest, even though Cap is my favorite character in the MCU. Steve Rogers is my 100% favorite character in the MCU. And even I don't have any interest in seeing a story that every single detail we already know how it works out. So I'd rather them spend the type of outrageous money it would cost to make that show on something new. That's just me, though. But like I said, dude, you are not the first person to say that. A lot of people have said it. And so you might be in the majority on this. I might be in the minority on it. So, like, I think it's not a good idea, but there might be enough people that do think it's a good idea that maybe someday they look at it. I hope they don't, but maybe they do. All right. Thanks for sharing, man. All right. Next up, Daniel Vakura writes, what are your thoughts on the Fall Guy being on digital? Oh, we talked about this morning. being on Fall Guy, being on digital as of yesterday. I understand it wasn't successful, but will completely undercuts it when it's still in theaters right now. It's crazy to me. Here's the problem, and I won't go into it too much because we already talked about it on the John Campea Show earlier today, but the big problem is not that it's undercutting the fact that it's already still in theaters. That's a problem, but it's not the big problem. Here's the big problem. It undercuts all future movies they put out. Because by dropping, and I get it was a financial flop, and I get it. Oh, maybe we can make a few extra rupees if we put it out, in digital right now. I understand that, but what they're doing is they're communicating to the movie-going audience, you don't need to come to the theater to see our movies, guys. Just stay at home. Like, we're just going to put it out super fast. We're just going to put it out super fast. Like, blink, and we're going to have it on home video. They are undermining their future movies. Because what they've just done, make no mistake, what they've done is fundamentally and monumentally stupid. Putting it out on VOD this early. They have just undermined their future movies because they are now conditioning the audience. They are teaching the audience. They are telling the audience, oh, guys, don't worry about it. Like 3 weeks, we'll have this thing on VOD. Don't worry about it. Just skip our movies. Skip our movies. They are totally, I said this morning, it's the old adage, right? Penny wise, dollar foolish. They made a decision to try to get a couple of pennies that's going to cost them dollars moving forward. It's absolutely fucking stupid. They're idiots. They're absolute idiots for doing this. And not only are they harming themselves, they're harming the entire movie industry. And they're not the only ones. I'm not going to pretend they're the only ones, but it's an absolutely idiotic move on their part. And I just don't know what else to say. They just shot themselves in the foot. And I've always said this, if the movie theatrical going experience dies, in which case everybody's going to lose tons of money. But if it does, it ain't going to be because of streaming. Not at all. That streaming's not hurting it. What's hurting it are movie theaters themselves and studios with how they're handling theatrical windows. That's what's going to kill it. Everybody, when VHS came out, everybody predicted, oh, the movies are done now. The movie going experience is done because now you can just watch video at home. What happened? Nothing. Then when it changed into DVDs and you had higher quality and smaller things, it became more accessible. Everybody's like, oh, that's it. End of movie theater going experience. Nothing. Then when it turned into HD and we had HD, DVD and Blu-ray and all that kind of stuff, everybody said again, oh, this is the end, blah, blah, blah. And then when streaming came out, oh, this is the end. None of that will. There's no external force that will ever hurt the true movie-going experience. What will kill the movie-going experience are the entities on the inside of it. The movie theaters themselves and the studios that make the movies. Those are the only two that have the power to kill their own industry. And they're doing it. They're doing it. Movie theaters are killing the movie theater business. And I love the movie theaters. That's my church, man. I love movie theaters, but they're doing things that are killing their own business. Movie studios with moves like this with Fall Guy, they're killing their own business. They're trying to skimp and make a couple of pennies today at the expense of losing dollars tomorrow. It is what it is. VHS didn't hurt the movies. DVDs didn't hurt the movies. Blu-rays didn't hurt the movies. Streaming doesn't hurt the movies. It's the companies on the inside of the movie business that are killing themselves slowly. And I hope they can I have hope they will fix it. I have hope they will learn the error of their ways and turn the ship around. But if anything's going to kill the movie industry, it's going to be them. It's going to be the movie industry itself that kills itself. Anyway, thanks for that, Daniel. Next up, Christopher Brickner writes, what's the best film to not get a Best Picture nominations? Oh, I don't know. I would have to sit there and go through lists of which movies came out which years and what did or did not get a Best Picture nomination. I don't know. I just simply, I don't know. If any of you guys got a thoughts? Oh, I mean, I'm not going to say it's the one. I'm not going to say it's the one, but Blashinti is saying Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse should have been nominated for Best Picture. Also, same year, 2018, A Quiet Place should have been nominated for Best Picture. I thought A Quiet Place was the best film of the year. I thought A Quiet Place was the best film of the year in 2018, and it didn't get nominated. I thought Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was the third best film overall of 2018, and it didn't get nominated. A lot of people are going to say what Josh is saying, The Dark Knight. Of course, but see, here's the thing, though. A Dark Knight, Kareem is saying Into won. No, Into did not win Best Picture. Into won the little party participation award known as Best Animated Feature. It did not get nominated for Best Movie. Or did it? Am I wrong on that, guys? Did Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse get nominated? I'm pretty positive it didn't. No, it didn't. And like the little participation award, the little pat on the head. Oh, you win Best Animated. How good for you. That doesn't count. There has never been anything more disrespectful to the art of animation than the Best Animated Film category at the Academy Awards. The Best Animated category at the Academy Awards was nothing more than a cop-out by the Academy to give it an excuse not to recognize animated films as potentially some of the best films of the year. So to give themselves an excuse to not recognize animation as sometimes some of the best films of the year, they created this little kiddie table award for it. I think it's the most disrespectful thing ever done to animation. Anyway, that aside, the thing about The Dark Knight is a lot of people brought up The Dark Knight, not The Dark Knight Rises. Screw that movie. The Dark Knight. It's harder. Like the really outrageous thing about, say, Into the Spider-Verse not getting nominated and Quiet Place not getting nominated is that those happened in years where you could have had up to 10 nominees. That's what really makes it a travesty. When The Dark Knight came out, that was still in an era where there were only 5 nominees, right? It's more understandable. Not that it still shouldn't have happened, but I mean, it's more understandable because there are only 5 nominations. Like everybody knows that had there been 10 nominees for Best Picture when The Dark Knight came out, it would have been nominated for Best Picture, right? I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I think everybody knows that. So it takes that away a little bit too. But anyway, that's a great topic. It's a good question. It's a great topic. All right. Thanks for that, Christopher. Next up, Chubbs GPT writes, what's a favorite movie of yours where the story happens in a span of a few hours? Mine's Cellular, very good, with Chris Evans, William H. Macy, Jason Statham. There's also, what's the one with Tom Hardy in the car? What's the name of that one? Help me out, guys. The one with Tom Hardy in the car. And I'm freezing on the name of it. Locke. Thank you, DMXL. Was the first one to get that in there. One of mine, I've been bringing up Oscar a lot lately. Now, Oscar, it's true, the beginning of the movie happens, and then 1 year passes. And then the end of the movie has some time passage. But like 90% of the movie all happens within a span of a couple of hours. So I love that. Another one is a Ryan Reynolds film called Buried, where literally the whole movie, it takes place in one location, a box. Ryan Reynolds wakes up buried underground in a box, and he's running out of air, and all he's got is a cell phone. And it all happens pretty much in real time, if I remember correctly. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So those are a couple of mine that come to my head. All right, good question, Chubbs. Next up, Wesley Cunningham writes, piggybacking on an earlier question, think Marvel will continue experimenting with R-rated films after Deadpool and Blade, if that is too. You know what? A year, 2 years ago, I would have said no. I mean, listen, Kevin Feige made it clear several years ago that there was only going to be ever one R-rated Marvel thing, and that was going to be Deadpool. He explicitly said that. It was in response to the original question when people asked if Blade would be rated R. He said, look, no, Marvel is PG-13 with the exception of Deadpool. However, I think in the last year, I think we've seen a philosophy shift over at Disney with regards to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't think they're going to go R-rated happy and start making, 5 R-rated things in the next 10 years. I don't think that, but I think they've had a philosophy shift. And yes, I think we will see them play with some more R-rated stuff. Now, there's a difference though between fun R-rated and hardcore R-rated, right? So like some people, CM is saying, I want an R-rated Midnight Suns film. Thing with that, I don't know if they're going to want to do that kind of R. Like R that's just silly and wacky and fun, like Deadpool with, some blood splatter or whatever. But and that versus something more hardcore, I don't know yet. But I do think that I can see, and this is, again, this is different from what I think their position was just a little over a year ago, which was hardline, no R-rated stuff in the MCU except for Deadpool. To, I think the table is a little bit more open now, and we'll see where they go with it. All right. Next up, Gamstas from Mr. I, who writes, I hope we get Deadpool and She-Hulk in a scene together in the future. Have them both breaking the fourth wall together. I don't know that anybody wants to see She-Hulk again. You know what? Let me take that back. As bad as the She-Hulk show was, oddly enough, the problem with the show wasn't She-Hulk. Like, the character She-Hulk, she was not the problem. The actress, good Canadian girl, by the way, Tatiana Maslany, the actress playing She-Hulk was not the problem. The problem with She-Hulk is that it's supposed to be a comedy, and it was just not funny. And there's not a lot that's as painful. One of the most painful, awkward experiences is being in a comedy club. And I know a lot of comedians, and I've been in a lot of comedy clubs. There's not a lot that's more cringy and uncomfortable than watching a comedian who's not funny. Everybody in the room feels awkward and it's weird, and you're just, every minute feels like an hour, and you're just dying for the thing to be over, right? It's like that watching a comedy movie or show that is just not funny. And that's She-Hulk. But oddly enough, if you got better writers and actually people who knew how to write comedy and you made it really funny, I would be all for seeing more She-Hulk. I really would. But until they rehabilitate that character, until they fix and redeem that character, I don't think a lot of people will be interested in seeing her with Deadpool. I don't think you're going to see a lot of people that'd be interested in seeing her with Deadpool. All right, guys, listen, that's all the super chats, because I turned the super chats off, but I got just a couple of minutes left here. So I'm going to just take some questions here from you guys in the live audience. Do me a favor. If you have a question for me, go ahead and type it in, but format it like this. Format it with, in capital letters, question, colon, and then yada, yada, yada. So boot question, then yada, yada, yada. That way I know you're specifically asking me and not talking to each other. Let's see here. King Daddy Goat says, a question, you think they'll ever acknowledge Daredevil was in She-Hulk? I think they will. I think they will. And you know what? As much as I didn't like She-Hulk, I really did like Matt in She-Hulk. That's just me. Let's see here. John A.M. writes, where does X-Men 97 rank among other animated series such as Arcane, Blue Eye Samurai, Invincible, Castlevania, etc.? I really like X-Men 97. But out of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other ones, I would put it in 5th. I think Arcane is the greatest animated show I've ever seen. I think Blue Eye Samurai is absolutely wonderful. Invincible. Well, you know what? Invincible season 1. You know what? I take that back. I'll put X-Men 97 ahead of Invincible and Castlevania, but not on the same level as Arcane and Blue Eye Samurai. It's just not as good as Arcane or like Arcane and Blue Eye Samurai are actually fleshed out narratives. It's not Twitter style, quick, short attention span. Then blah, blah, blah. Then this happens. Then this happens. Then this happens. Then this happens. And I loved it. I stayed up till midnight every night that a new episode came out to watch new episodes. I really enjoyed X-Men 97. I will put it ahead of Invincible and Castlevania, but not on the same level as Arcane, which remains my all-time favorite animated series, or Blue Eye Samurai, which, by the way, guys, if you've not seen Blue Eye Samurai, because I know a lot of you have seen Arcane, but if you have not seen Blue Eye Samurai, watch Blue Eye Samurai. It's not just a great animated show. It's a great show. It really is. If it was live action, I think it would be like just wonderful too. Let's see. Dunkerito writes, will Shogun beat House of the Dragon at the Emmys? How am I? We haven't seen House of the Dragon yet. How can I predict if Shogun will beat House of the Dragon at the Emmys if we have not yet, if we've seen one, but not the other? I mean, we got to see season 2 of House of the Dragon first before we can answer that question. Let's see here. By the way, guys, some of you are writing in questions and I can just see at a glance they're way too long. So I'm going to just skip over those for now. Let's see. Mr. Hank Dunn writes, are you going to CinemaCon next year? Absolutely. Listen, I love CinemaCon. It is my favorite. I like it even more, significantly more actually than Comic-Con. I love CinemaCon. I am going to continue to go to CinemaCon even after I retire. As long as I can continue to afford it, because it's not cheap. Just getting a pass to CinemaCon is $1,300 just for the pass. Like, forget travel, food, hotel, all that kind of stuff. Just getting a pass is like $1,300. But yes, I will probably continue going to CinemaCon. I'll definitely go next year. No doubt about it. Let's see. Antonius writes, John, which is your favorite of the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels? None. The answer to that is none. I'm not a big fan of any of the sequels, to be honest with you. I really like the first one, and that's really the only one that I really like. Let's see here. T3 Collects writes, John, will you go see The Crow 30th anniversary next Wednesday or Thursday? No, I think the original Crow's overrated. Don't get me wrong, I like The Crow. I like the movie. In a thumbs up or thumbs down world, I am a thumbs up on The Crow. I like The Crow. But I also think it is a desperately overrated film. I really do. I think it's good. I like it. If I had to go onto Rotten Tomatoes today and put in my review, I would be one of the tomatoes, the fresh tomatoes. That would be mine. But I also think it's a desperately overrated film. And I won't be going to see it again. Let's see. At least not in theaters again. I've seen it on video again a couple of times, but I'm not going to go to the theater to watch it again. Let's see. What else? Sir Malston writes, do you think Deadpool 3 will draw large international crowds? I believe so, because if I'm not mistaken, hold on a second. Let me just bring this up. So Deadpool, the first Deadpool, I mean, it made $363 million domestically, but it also pulled in $419 million internationally. So if we go to Deadpool 2, it made $324 million domestically, but it made $461 million internationally. So there's no reason not to suspect that it will do very well with the international crowds. The first one did, the second one did. Don't see why the third one wouldn't. So yeah, I think it's going to do very, very well with the international crowds. Let's see. Tyler Fratis writes, are you looking forward to the Beetlejuice trailer tomorrow? I partially because I'm not super looking forward to Beetlejuice sequel, to be honest with you. But at CinemaCon, they showed us, I think, everything we're going to see in the new trailer tomorrow. Like they gave us a big presentation on the new Beetlejuice at CinemaCon. And I got to tell you, I wasn't really interested in Beetlejuice before CinemaCon. It got me a little bit interested, but I'm still not super excited for Beetlejuice. And I got a feeling everything that's going to be in the trailer tomorrow's footage I've already seen. So yeah, there's that. Let's see. Mr. Hank Dunn writes, and this will be our last question today. Do you think Deadpool 3 will have the largest domestic box office for R-rated? Well, the other Deadpools both had in the 300s. How much did Joker get domestically? The first Joker, you know what? Made 335. This is for Joker. Joker made 335 million domestically. So the other Deadpool movies made more than Joker did. So yes, I will say I'm going to guess Deadpool and Wolverine. First of all, I think Deadpool and Wolverine will become worldwide the highest grossing R-rated film ever. I think it will beat the $1.078 billion that Joker made. It might not, but I think it will, as long as the movie's good. And who knows if the movie will be good or not. But yeah, I think it'll become the number one R-rated movie of all time worldwide, and I think it'll become the number one movie domestically. So yeah, there's that. And guys, that'll do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here, guys, and joining me today for this. A big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about, but number two, you supported our channel by sending them in, and all of us involved with the channel. Thank you guys so much for your support. By the way, I mentioned this before, but we're going to be I know we've been doing open mics on average about once a week. I'm going to try to up that to 2 to 3 times a week that we do open mics. Now that my studio's here in my home and I can just walk in here and do open mics, we're going to try to do more of them moving forward, and just have a good casual time hanging out and chatting and talking about movies. So thank you guys so much for being here and joining me and letting me do what I do. I'll look forward to seeing you guys. Don't forget to come back and join me and Ray and Jonathan and Robert on tomorrow's episode of the John Campea Show. We'll look forward to seeing you then. So that'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.